Hello and welcome once again to our Sunday worship experience here at the One God, One Thought Center for Better Living in Baltimore, Maryland. My name is Bernette Jones, the senior minister here at the One God, One Thought Center, and we're a member of the Universal Foundation for Better Living, an organization worldwide founded by the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. Our current president is the Reverend Dr. Sheila McKeithen. And each month here, we celebrate a spiritual idea. This month of September, we are celebrating the idea of order, divine order, our ability to commune with God and to make any adjustments that we may need to make in our thinking and feeling and speaking, to make certain that we're in alignment with the Spirit of God and putting God first in our lives. We are following up this Sunday with a lesson once again on the Omniaction of God. You know, we had so much feedback. I mean, last week when we did the first in this series, it struck and resonated with a number of people, including myself. And I was able to just hear from people about how much difference it made for them. We like to get feedback. We like to know that we're striking a chord, stepping on toes even, but mostly lifting people up to build up a conscious awareness of how the Spirit of God is active in us. You know, we talk about in the New Thought movement, the omnipresence of God, the omnipotence of God, and the omniscience of God. So now we're introducing an additional thought about the omniaction of God, how God moves. Because when God moves, we get results. And most of us are here in this particular spiritual tradition, believing and knowing and trusting and desiring to live a better life, to get some good results and outcomes. And so we do that by growing in our spiritual understanding about how God actually is moving by God's Spirit in each and every one of us, and in fact, in all things. Today, we want to think about and focus on our 12 spiritual powers and the idea of omniaction of God moving in us through our 12 spiritual powers. We started looking at the prophet Ezekiel last week because Ezekiel had a personal experience of God. A personal experience of God. And in the vision that he had, which is captured in the first chapter of Ezekiel, the 19th through the 21st verses, and I'll read it again, because his experience of God presence was an experience of great and profound movement and action. This is what he says. When the living creatures moved, the wheels beside them moved. And when the living creatures rose from the ground, the wheels also rose. When the consciousness of the living things began to rise up from the ground, the consciousness began to move differently. Whenever the Spirit would go, wherever, that's the omnipresence of God everywhere. Wherever the Spirit would go, they would go. And the wheels would rise along with them because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Don't you love that? When the creatures moved, they also moved. When the creatures stood still, they also stood still. And when the creatures rose from the ground, the wheels rose along with them because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Now let's take a look at this notion of the wheels. What are the wheels? We know that wheels are round and they move, but wheels also have a spiritual significance in other faith traditions that are a part of the ancient wisdom teachings on spirituality. Specifically, I'm talking about the Hindu tradition, in which we learn about the chakra system. We have chakras, and in Sanskrit, the word chakra means wheel. It means wheel, and it refers to the energy points in the body. They are 7 main points, although there are more than 114 other points. And in the Hindu tradition, they're thought of as being spinning disc, these spinning wheels of energy that must stay open. The wheels and the spinning, and they must stay open and aligned with one another and with spirit. And they correspond to certain nerve centers in the body and major organs in the body and areas in our energetic body that go beyond the physical body. So this idea of wheels is not a new idea in theology and spirituality. In the New Thought tradition, we talk about the 12 spiritual powers. We also have locations for those powers within the physical body, and they can also be thought of as spinning wheels. They can be thought of as energy wheels that move in our consciousness based on what it is that we are holding in our subconscious mind. So if we're holding thoughts of health in our subconscious mind, then the wheels will spin. The wheels of life will spin in the direction of health. And the presence of God will express itself in our experience as health. When we're holding in our subconscious mind dis-ease, believing in illness, focusing our attention on those things, then guess what? The wheels that are spinning, the God power that is moving in us is moving according to what we have stored there in the subconscious mind. Wow. Now that's the good news as well as the challenging news, because that means that we have to be conscious and intentional and deliberate in how we think about our experiences and what it is that we allow into our subconscious mind. We have to guard our conscious mind and our subconscious mind so that we are consciously allowing spirit to move through ideas that are for our highest good. You don't want to have a negative balance in your checkbook and then be focusing on poverty and lack. You want to be holding in your subconscious the awareness that an omnipresent God, an all-present, all-powerful, all-knowledgeable, and all-moving God is showing up and expressing as abundance. That is what you want this movement of God to move through your subconscious and produce in your experience, right? So this is how we learn to master our own minds and to have our living be clearly by our own intention and our own willingness to shift. And the law of mind action and the law of the principle of order says we want our mind activity to shift back in the direction of God, no matter what the situation is that comes up, because that then is what will express through our subconscious mind. So we can think of ourselves as moving energy. Is that right? Ezekiel says that the spirit of the living creature is in the wheels. So we can think of ourselves as moving energy. And truly, quantum physics and science is now discovering that that is exactly what we are and what everything that exists in our environment really is. It's just energy, moving energy. The omniaction of spirit, moving through these energetic 12 power centers. They have certain functions and purposes in terms of producing outcomes and results, because the movement of spirit in these energetic centers gives us a certain ability to move in a certain direction for a certain purpose. When we understand that, we then can master the ability to move ideas from the realm of spirit into the realm of manifestation, which is what we mean by getting the results that we want. And in New Thought, we talk about this as demonstrations. We talk about having outcomes. We talk about having experiences. So if we look at our experiences, we can see what it is that we have been using this omniaction of God for. We can look at our experiences and it will give us the feedback. So let's look at the 12 powers and focus on what is the ability that each one of these powers is giving us. Now we get to choose. We can use this action of God working through these powers for any purpose we choose. We can be conscious about it, or we can be unconscious, and it'll just work by default, because whatever's in that subconscious, it is going to move it into manifestation and production, right? So the first power that we talk about and think about and contemplate and reflect on is faith. It is located in the center top of our head. It is the ability to perceive and shape divine substance into form. The ability to intentionally and consciously turn ideas that are invisible into outer experiences and manifestations that are actual forms. You know, the law of mind action, which is that movement of spirit in us through the mind, is helping us to see what we believe about God, what we trust about God, whether or not we really trust God. It's reflecting back to us how certain we are or are not that something is possible and it's happening right now. This is what the scriptures tell us about faith, the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. This is what scripture is saying about our ability to know and trust and believe that something is possible. And once we do that, we're giving this Omniaction of God the direction to move in our experience according to that faith that we know that this is the only thing happening right now. It might look a lot of different ways, but it's the faith faculty that helps us to know that it's working together for our good, and it's working in the direction of whatever it is that we have believed and have faith in. We then have strength. Strength is the ability for long-term endurance, the ability to just stand, the ability to be imperturbable, meaning nobody can push your buttons and knock you off your game, no matter what's going on, to be resolute and imperturbable, to be standing for something, to be undistracted by all of the things going on in the world, to be unwavering, to be unwavering. You know how you come up against something that looks like a mountain, something that appears like things going on in our community that we don't necessarily like. This ability in strength, and when spirit is moving through it, gives us that ability to simply stand. Stand on what we know, stand on what we have experienced, stand on how we have experienced God. A God that can move mountains with the faith and the strength to simply stand. And this is why we say during these times of extraordinary health events going on in the world, this is why we say we stand for truth with a capital T. We stand for love. We stand for health. We stand for prosperity. And we are standing for peace. The next power is wisdom. You know, in all the things that go on in our lives and in our families, in our communities, somewhere we have to have the ability to use some wisdom to discern what is the best action to take, what is the best thing to focus on, what Our discernment ability is a part of that wisdom faculty. And some people think that you don't get that until you get to be a certain age. But everybody has it, even little children. Everybody has this ability innately to know when to go right and when to go left. This ability to distinguish and to make good choices. This is a part of what the movement and omniaction of God is doing in us when we allow it and don't clutter it up with our own self-talk. It will automatically lead, guide, direct us, and help us to discern. It's a part of our intuition system. It helps us to discern what is the best course of action. What's the best thing to say out of my mouth? What's the best thing to give my listening attention to? All of this is a part of wisdom. And then we think about love. Oh, we just love love. We love to talk about it and think about it. But the movement in love is one that is toward harmony. It's that ability to restore harmony. It's the ability to see oneness when everything looks different. That ability to see the presence of God in everything and in everybody and moving in the same direction towards something that is for our highest good. And so love as compassion is one of the challenging things that we get to work on in an environment in which so many different people have so many different opinions and see so many different things in so many different ways and have so many different arguments and opinions about what it is we're looking at. There is an ability that we have to allow spirit to move through our consciousness when we focus our consciousness of love on oneness and wholeness and peace and kindness and compassion and all of those things that help us to experience God and to support other people to experience God by seeing them in the most loving way, speaking about them in the most loving way, cherishing them in the most loving way. This is the Spirit of God working in us through love. And then power. Oh, power. The power to turn those wheels is in the throat. It's in our speaking. It's in our ability to speak the word and have the word go forth, to decree a thing and have it be done for us. Power is the ability to access the pure potential, the pure omnipotence of this energy system that we call God. That's what God is. It's an energy system. It's an intelligence. And so power is our ability to access it in a way that we can affect movement, change. It's that ability to actually move the needle, so to speak. That's the new jargon for how you get something happening. It's that ability to actually do that simply by the word. I'm taking an incredible UFBL JCTS class on hermeneutics with Dr. Will Coleman. And one of the things that he is helping us to understand about language is how intentional it is when we have the power to understand the vibration that we are actually releasing when we are speaking and saying words and talking. And so, of course, he has studied many different languages and the scriptures in many different languages, and helping us to recognize that the interpretation of language, this idea of hermeneutics is this ability to live in several different dimensions at the same time and interpret them, to interpret the invisible, to interpret the word and the world. It's the ability to then understand how to use the word to move energy in a certain way. We have that power. That's one of our powers. Imagination, which is in the area of the third eye, is a power that spirit moves through for creativity. The ability to see things and design things and make up things and just create new things and reinvent things. You got to be able to see it first in our own mind and then drop it into our subconscious mind. And then the Spirit of God can move through the subconscious and produce. In classes, I often talk about the idea of a chair. How many different chairs have you experienced in your lifetime? You probably take it for granted and don't even think about it. But chair is an idea that many different people have seen in their vision in many different ways. They imagined it differently. And so you experience different chairs. That's a small thing, but amplify that to all of the different things. I'm in awe. Every day I'm in awe at how the Spirit of God has moved through people's ideas, and we have all the multiplicity of things that we have. The abundance, the plenty that we have, the differences, the creativity. It's just a moment of awe and appreciation and respect for what people have allowed the wheel of imagination to do through them. And then there's understanding. It's also located in the front brain. And it's the ability to comprehend. I say it's the ability to know what it is you're looking at. Because we're witnessing and experiencing things all the time in our life. But we may not know the truth of what we're looking at until we understand, until we have that understanding of what it all means. And so we have the ability to comprehend and understand and to know what it is we're witnessing, because we're always witnessing this movement of God. We're witnessing it in our bodies. We're witnessing it in our experiences. We're witnessing it in the lives of other people. We're witnessing it all the time. But you have to understand that God is standing under all things. And therefore, in order to know what you're looking at, you have to go and commune with Spirit. You have to go to God and ask, what is the right interpretation of what I'm seeing going on in the streets? What is the right interpretation of what I'm seeing going on in Haiti? What's the right interpretation of what I'm seeing going on in Afghanistan? What is the right understanding about what I'm witnessing? And God will actually reveal it, because God is working in us always, at all times. We look at the will. It's our ability to direct this action and movement of spirit for specific purposes, for ideas and projects that God gives you. It takes the willingness to be directed, to be teachable, to be coachable, to be someone that can hear and then obey what Spirit is directing and guiding us to be and to do and to have. This Omniaction of God is always doing that. It's always doing that. But are you willing to allow it to do it through you? Am I willing to not put up a barrier when Spirit is trying to give me some new ideas about the direction to move in? And then order. We celebrate in this month of September order. And divine order is simply the ability to adjust all of everything we're seeing back to God, to make adjustments in what's going on in our subconscious mind by putting in some new information, by seeking to have a personal experience of God like Ezekiel, by bringing everything back to the law of mind action and the law of circulation, which is this law of how the energy of the wheels are turning. Bringing everything back to put God first is simply the adjusting of whatever it is we're doing to be in perfect alignment. And then everything else unfolds in its perfect, right, divine order. And then there's zeal. This is that moment when we just get the spark of the divine and we're just excited and we get it. It's like, oh, wow. Spirit is attempting to move through me with all this power and energy and order and all of these different ways. And yes, I see it. I'm excited about it. I've got that spark to get moving. This is the zeal part of us. It's at the base of the skull, the medulla. It's at this area in the back of our neck. And when Spirit starts moving through it, you can get zealous. As a matter of fact, you can get so focused and zealous on a thing that you're not using the wisdom faculty. You're just going straight ahead. We just recently made a decision that we would postpone a retreat that we are having. We had all kinds of feedback from people and from, who were not willing to go, and people who were afraid to go, and people who messages from people in the country that we were going to, and all kinds of, and we're so zealous. We're so zealous about the idea. It took a message from the federal government saying, no, this is an alert. You can't go there. For us to listen and get some messages. We were very zealous about it. And it occurred to us finally, well, we can still go there. Just don't go now. We can still go there. Maybe God is giving us some space to do some other things with this retreat that we hadn't thought about, that'll make it more wonderful and more beautiful. So zeal is not something that we want Spirit to move through us with blinders on. It's something that keeps us pumped and having the energy to continue on, even though there's a postponement. It's the zeal in us, the excitement about what we want to offer people that will grow their souls, that had us to be zealous about it. And we can temper it with some wisdom. Renunciation. The next power is the ability to eliminate and erase what needs to be corrected or revised or edited. Aren't you so glad that the programs, the technology programs and operating systems have a delete button? Aren't you so glad that you can edit and change? I can remember years ago, before all of that, before the word processor, when there was a typewriter, what you had to go through to erase something. This idea of being able to erase and correct and edit, Spirit has moved through somebody's mind to give us the ability to do it faster and more accurately. And it's the same spiritual power that we can apply in our daily lives with what's going on. You have to know that it's possible and that you have the ability to erase and correct and forgive and to let go of things. Take a deep breath and let it go. This is the omnipresence of God moving through the wheel of elimination and renunciation and purification that's already within us. And then finally, the 12th power wheel, the 12th power wheel. Don't you like the way that sounds? Moving in us is life itself. You know, life itself is the ability to move into action. It's experiencing God in us, as us, and working through us. That's the experience of what life really is. And when we understand and accept and look toward the experience of that quickening of Spirit in us, we get a chance to really experience life, to appreciate and experience the breathing, cells that can repair and regenerate and renew themselves, the ability to move not only in our physical body, but in our mind, in our thoughts. We can move from where we have felt stuck to a place where we are spinning and energizing and vibrating that wheel of life. And we're a conscious part of that. That is the real Omniaction of God, experienced as activity. So these are all part of the elements, the energy of who we really are, our real self. This is advanced work in metaphysics, because when you sit down and really contemplate and reflect on and ponder these 12 actions going on simultaneously within us and working simultaneously in our subconscious mind to produce whatever it is that we've put into our subconscious mind, then it causes us to pause, to respect and appreciate, and to be very intentional about everything that we are thinking and feeling and saying, and the actions that we're taking and the reactions that we have. It causes us to really pause. And the power is in the pause, because that is when Spirit shows up and starts leading, guiding, directing in this Spirit-driven way all of the highest good of the better life. I thank you for your consciousness to listen and hear what the Spirit is saying through you and moving those energetic wheels. You see, because the Spirit of God is in the wheels. Thank you for your consciousness. So we are celebrating all year long 27 years of the Omniaction of God, moving through the consciousness of the people who have received the idea of the One God, One Thought Center for Better Living. It's our 20th year. We're about to have a great gala activity to celebrate that coming up October 23rd. We hope that you'll join us and connect with us either through our e-blast or by calling the church to find out more and how you can come and join us and purchase tickets and be a part of the celebration. We're so grateful because your consciousness, you're allowing the Spirit of God to actively move through your finances and through your loving service, through your spirit of generosity, is what keeps us here. If these messages and lessons for spiritual consciousness growth and development are resonating in your heart, I'm inviting you to take action. I'm inviting you to take some action that allows your subconscious mind to know and to register that you want this to stay here. You want this to continue to be available, not only to you and I, but to all of the people who will come after us, who will be seeking this message of truth. And so I want to thank you in advance for saying yes to that, blessing us with your tithes and offerings and gifts and in all the ways that you bless us. Just thank you for your generosity of spirit. We bless those offerings by saying divine love, operating through the energy of the omnipresence and omniaction of God through me. Operating through me. Yes, divine love operating through me is blessing and it's multiplying. This is where we get to speak the word. It's blessing, but it's also multiplying. All the good things that I am, all the good things that I have, all the good things that I give, and all the good things that are blessed back to me. Thank you for knowing that truth with us. I want to leave us today with the Omniaction Prayer. The Omniaction Prayer that we prayed last week and that we put into our e-blast this week so that you can have it to use it as you choose. And just know that in this week of Unity's World Day of Prayer, we are praying this prayer worldwide for people everywhere. We're saying it out of our mouth with the power of intention and decree that this is Omniaction of God. The activity of God is the only power at work in my mind, in my heart, in my physical body, and in my life. And all false beliefs, all negative appearances are dissolved right now by the loving, forgiving action of God. I am whole, strong, and free as God created me to be. I am the pure presence of pure being right now. And I'm immersed in the Holy Spirit, the whole spirit of life and wisdom and love and power and substance. I'm immersed in it. And I'm acknowledging the presence and power of infinite spirit. In thy divine wisdom, I now erase all mortal limitations. And in thy pure substance of divine love, I bring into manifestation my world according to God's perfect law. We are so grateful. Have the most incredible week of your choice. Peace and blessings.